Intermittent fasting is keeping you fat and wreaking havoc on your hormones. The only clinically proven benefit of intermittent fasting is calorie restriction. And there are about 1,000 better ways to achieve it without starving your body, more importantly, your muscles, for 16 hours a day. So stop simulating what you think cave people did. They died at 18 and you're trying to live to 100. The science is super clear. Intermittent fasting, no bueno. I want to tell you a story about one of my clients. Her name is Eva. Okay? When Eva got to us, she was absolutely starving herself. Eva is pretty small. She's 5'4". It's 120, 130 pounds, if I remember correctly, when she started with us. And Eva was eating under 1,200 calories a day. And she'd been doing this for an extensive period of time. Eva was also not somebody that was moving little, right? She used to teach some classes, so she would do tons and tons of exercise. I'm talking like 15 hours of exercise a week. Like at least twice a day, she would be moving for an hour doing something, a spin class, a like Zumba type class, stuff like that. So she was moving a ton. She was eating almost nothing. She was chronically fatigued. Her hair was falling out. By the time she got to us, she wasn't getting her period anymore. This is how serious things got. Okay. Her adrenals were completely out of whack. Okay? So obviously that's outside our scope of practice. We referred her to an endocrinologist that looked at some of that stuff, but they came back with most of the same stuff that we're going to work on, which is we got to get you back to eating a diet that is healthier, that is more consistent, that gives you food throughout the day, that doesn't keep your body starving and desperate for more food. So we went through what we call a reverse dieting cycle. Okay? In essence, we needed to bring her back to baseline. She doesn't need to be at a calorie deficit. She needed to just be in maintenance for a little while. So this took us with Eva about 3 months. So for 3 months, in essence, we brought her to a place where the amount of food she was bringing into her body was about equal to the amount of exercise and output that her body was having on a daily basis. Don't remember what the number was. But over the course of those 3 months, we got her calories back up to baseline. We got her eating a more consistent meal schedule. So she'd wake up, have some breakfast, she'd have a light snack, she'd have lunch, she'd have another light snack, she'd have dinner. We obviously didn't do this all at once. She was eating one meal a day. She was literally like starving herself all day, exercising, moving, whatever. And then dinner was this giant meal, not giant, it was whatever, 1,200 calories. And then that was it. That was all she was eating every day. And because of it, she was feeling so tired, so fatigued, hair falling out. I walked you guys through this whole thing. Okay? After 3 months, Eva started losing a little bit of fat again. Eva felt way better. She was stronger. She was hitting personal records in the gym. She was feeling amazing. Her energy was through the roof. She was sleeping better. Her period came back, right? Her body started to function as intended, and she was stoked. Over the course of the next 6 months that we worked with her, we were able to take that great baseline that we built and continue to build on it. Now she was more interested in building a little bit of muscle and increasing her performance, and she started wanting to run and learn how to do like some training for a half marathon, and then she went on to do a marathon. There's all these great things that can happen after your body's functioning the right way, but it really needed to start with this strong foundation, and that foundation for 99% of people is nutrition. And for her, that intermittent fasting was this cookie cutter advice that she found online from an influencer and was like, okay, let's do this. And that advice just was not good for her. Okay. So that's Eva's story. Back to intermittent fasting itself. The only real reason that it works is because you're in a calorie restriction. So if you happen to be male, the odds of it having this cascading impact on your hormones are lower than it is for a female considerably, right? So you might be able to get away with intermittent fasting, but every bit of research on it proves that it's inefficient compared to spreading out your meals throughout the day. Frankly, it's also harder. Frankly, it also increases the likelihood that you're going to binge later if you keep going through these cycles. And then all of a sudden, like somebody invites you out to brunch and you go out to brunch and you stack another 10, 1,000 calories, 1,500 calories on top of what you usually do. So in my experience, and again, we've been doing this for about 12 years. We've worked with a little over 30,000 people. Most people don't do super well on intermittent fasting, right? Even if they're male, and they're not going to have this cascading impact on their hormones. They still just do better if we teach them how to eat normally and they space things out. There's one other key detriment to it as well, which is if you keep your muscles without being fed, without having any amount of protein for 16 hours, it is a higher likelihood that you're going to go into this catabolic state where your body starts to decrease its muscle mass. Okay? It's not for sure, right? But it is more likely. If you keep your muscles fed throughout the day, the likelihood that you're going to be able to keep your muscle mass or grow it is higher. So you will do better by eating smaller meals throughout the day if you do that. I'm sure somebody's going to comment something about like the autophagy benefits of intermittent fasting. If you can find a study that's peer reviewed that shows me that in black and white, I will tip my hat to you and tell you that you're right. But so far, I've seen no such research. Levels of autophagy in intermittent fasting versus a consistent, 5 small meals a day with protein are identical. I've seen no notable difference. So anyway, that's the story behind intermittent fasting. Let's get right into the advice. Okay, so before you guys jump out at me and go like, but Isaac, this is working for me perfectly right now. I'm doing so great. Okay, if you're a male and you're younger than 40 and you're doing intermittent fasting and it's working for you, have at it. There are better ways to do what you're doing, but I don't want to ruin your program, so knock yourself out. If you are female and you're intermittent fasting, I'm going to go ahead and be a little bit more heavy-handed and say, hey, at some point, this is going to cause a humongous problem in your life. Let's maybe start taking some steps to fixing it now. Okay. Because what's going to happen is maybe you're 30 right now or you're 35 and you feel pretty good. You're going to break that threshold in which you start getting a little closer towards perimenopause. Your hormones are going to start changing. And then the cascading impact of doing intermittent fasting is going to show up with a vengeance. Okay. So, my 2 cents, fix it now. There are better ways to do things. There are healthier ways to do things. Frankly, more sustainable, right? Like you're going to go on a trip and you're only going to have one meal. It's probably a little bit more enjoyable to be able to like go on a trip and have breakfast and then have a little light snack at lunch. That's more of a personal thing. But anyway, some quick practical advice for you guys that are just starting on this journey and maybe want to transition away from something like intermittent fasting and get into this more consistent schedule of food. There's a couple things that we want to do. First and foremost, my biggest piece of advice, if you're willing to listen, is get a nutrition coach. If you guys get a nutrition coach, the likelihood that you're going to succeed is infinitely higher. Okay. Reason being, you're going to have somebody there that's going to help support the inevitable hurdles that you're going to stumble on. Okay? Doing a transition in diet is difficult. We want to make sure that somebody's there to help you when things come up. You never know what that's going to be. Maybe it's hard for you to get enough protein. Maybe it's hard for you to understand like the baby steps you need to take. So you do this all in or out mentality and you fail and then you just give up on it. Lots of things can happen. Maybe it's logistical. Maybe it's nothing crazy. You want somebody to help you through it. So if you can afford it, if you're willing to do it, find a nutrition coach. I'm being very specific in my language. I'm not telling you to find a dietitian. I'm not telling you to find a nutritionist. Okay. If you have an eating disorder or something, yep, go to those people. But if you're just trying to learn how to eat better, if you're trying to change your behaviors, nutrition coaches or board certified health and nutrition coaches are going to be your best bet. Okay. So you can find those at Sasquatch. You can find those other places too. Those people are worth their weight in gold. Pay them. You will thank me later. If you insist on doing this on your own, here's what we're going to do. Okay. I'm going to give you one number that you're going to play with, and then we're going to try and spread that number out throughout the day. Okay. We are going to try to hit our protein goal. Here's how you're going to do it. You're going to take your desired body weight. So if you're 250 pounds right now, you want to get to 200 pounds, your desired body weight is 200, and you're going to multiply it by between zero 0.8 and 1 gram of protein. Okay? So 200 pounds of desired body weight, 0.8 is 160 grams. If you multiply it by 1, it's 200. So between 160 and 200 grams of protein per day. That's what we're aiming for. Okay? If you're wondering where in that range you fall or you should hit, really it's start on the lower end and work your way up to the higher end because it's going to be a little challenging. In all likelihood, you're not eating enough protein right now. So if you're eating, let's say, 80, 90 grams of protein right now, and you try to go to 200 right away, you're going to have some GI issues for a couple days. maybe it's going to be super hard for you to do. So start on the lower end, right? Start at 160 and work your way up over the course of a couple weeks. Okay? But let's say we're starting at 160 grams of protein. What I want you to do is I want you to try and space that protein out throughout the day. In an ideal world, if I could snap my fingers and get you to do whatever I wanted, we would do 5 small meals a day. Okay? Breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner. Okay? That keeps your body well fed throughout the day. That keeps your digestive system working. That keeps your muscles well fed. It keeps your satiety pretty high so that you don't end up like feeling starving and feeling like you need to overeat. So ideally, every one of those meals is going to have at least 20 grams of protein. Obviously, maybe your breakfast or your lunch or your dinner has more than that to get to that 160 grams. But if we're getting those snacks in the middle of the day with 20 grams of protein, you will be amazed at how your energy increases and how much better you are at just doing everyday things. You're going to be better at focusing on your job. You're going to be better at keeping up with your kids. It's going to be awesome. So try it out. Tell me what you think. Okay. Last tip, because I want to leave you guys with 3 things, is if you're doing all the stuff and you're wondering what to do about movement or exercise, if you're doing this on your own, I'm going to suggest you work on one thing, and it's called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. Very fancy term for calories you burn while not exercising. Okay. So it's all the activity that you do that doesn't involve exercise, like walking around, pacing around your living room, that kind of thing. So instead of going after this crazy exercise routine that you may or may not have right now, while you're working on this nutrition stuff and trying to get yourself off of intermittent fasting, just focus on moving more. If you've got like an Aura ring or a phone or a Garmin or anything like that, use it. We're aiming for like 7,500 plus steps a day. That would be amazing. You can achieve those by like pacing around your living room, taking your calls on your phone, anything like that, or maybe just taking a 10-minute walk after each meal. Something like that would be amazing. You'll be surprised how quickly you get those steps in. All right. I hope you guys got some value out of it. If you did, watch this next video, and I'll see you on the next one.